What does this Amiga 2000 and this Commodore MS-DOS disk have in common? Stick around and find out. So, welcome to my channel. My name is Chris, and I do all sorts of crazy stuff with Commodores, repairs, upgrades, reviews, and a little bit of history. Today on the channel, what we're going to be reviewing is this. This is the 386SX Bridgeboard for your Commodore Amiga. What the heck do you mean a Bridgeboard? This allows the Amiga to basically turn into a PC of the era. This is a 386SX board. Latest from Commodore, it's called the PC Amiga Bridge. This was made in 1991. Based on the chip's date that I have been able to find, the manual that I found on Amiga Resource, and several other locations. This board supports 8 megabytes of RAM and 640K regular PC crap RAM. PCs really sucked back in the day compared to the Commodore, in my opinion. Yours may vary, but I was always an Amiga head, and I did have PCs, but the Amiga just smoked them because I could be a Mac, I could be an Amiga, I could be a PC. We had the best of everything. So today I'm going to show you just a little bit of what that can do. This particular board is probably the flagship model minus the Golden Gate 486 boards that came later on. This board was officially from Commodore. It does actually sport an Intel 386SX with a spot for a 387, or i387, FPU, coprocessor, whatever. It has some unique ways of connecting peripherals. Now, since this is a bridge board, it does bridge these slots between the Zorro ISA Amiga PC. This is a full-length card. You have your 16-bit ISA bus up here and your Zorro bus down here. The two of them together work together to let the Amiga and the PC talk with each other, share files, have a virtual hard drive even. It's quite nice. It's also a PC, and you know, it is what it is. Now please keep in mind, this is not Windows 11, this is not Windows 95, this is way back when. Maybe Windows 3.1, 3.11, 11, whatever. You're not going to be running NT4 on this. I mean, you could, but it's going to suck eggs. This is the 25 megahertz model. It is the top shelf of them all. It has a 50 megahertz crystal divided in half, 25 for your clock. If I added that 387, it might be slightly different. On the back of this card, you're going to have a PS2 and you're going to have a DB23. The DB23 allows you to hook up an Amiga floppy drive directly to this card. That allows it to be drive A on a Windows machine. Now, where the fun comes in, and where I say the problems lie, are with the Amiga itself. This is an Expansion Systems 8 megabyte fast RAM board. It occupies the Zorro 2 memory space of the Amiga fast RAM, and it gives you 8 megs. This machine has 1 mega chip and works pretty well. This card goes into disabled mode if it bumps into other cards in that memory space. This card sucks up 64K, maybe a couple megs of that memory space. So if I put this card in by itself and my host controller card for the Amiga hard drive, it works fine. However, I'm out of RAM. This card has, I believe, 4 megs of RAM on it, based on the ZIF count that you soldered in yourself back in the day. I don't even know if it works. Yes, it does have a GP battery, but it's brand new. Brand new. Don't be scared. It's not leaked everywhere. It's brand new. These crazy connectors on here. What is going on here? These are for floppy drives, believe it or not. You can run a native floppy drive, or you can run what's called pass-through drives. Like I did on a video long ago on the AMAX 2 board, the Amiga controller would go on one side, and the floppy connector would go out the other side. This allowed this device to share the floppy drive with the actual Amiga. Now, considering I don't have extra cables just lying around that are 30 years old, we're going to be using the external route. The first step is to plug this card into the actual Amiga. Now, here you got the old 8-bit ISA, and these are your 16-bit ISA, and here's your Zorros down here. I'm going to give it the old Nintendo. That's good. Because this is a full-length card, I'm going to give it the Kung Fu Chop. That's a lot of pins to depress in that haven't been opened probably ever on those ISAs. Now, with that done, I'm going to plug in this external floppy cable. I do have a copy of Commodore's MS-DOS 401. It's actually Commodore's. I own all of the original discs. MS-DOS 401 install, the operating system, and the shell disk, which we will hopefully not need. Now, the idea, let me clip this microphone on me. Now, the idea with this is not to have a full-blown PC, but to have something we can tinker with. Now, I believe that this will not work with this card. It'll go into a disabled state. So I can attach some jumpers that I just happen to have a couple spares of, and I'm going to move this card down to the 4 meg address space. That'll give the Amiga something to bite on, and also let the emulator card be able to work without being disabled. How does all this magic happen? There's a special piece of software that Commodore made, not this blank disk, from Computer City, called Janus. And you can read up on that on your own on any Amiga resource, BBOAH, etc. Let's see what I got a jumper here for 4 meg. Now, even though this card still has 8 megs of chips on it, it's, ouch, dang, it's sharp. It's going to cut me. It has 4 megs now. Okay, this thing is getting on my nerves. It has fallen out more times than it has stayed on. I've hot glued it. I just push it on there and hope for the best. Let me turn on the solar. We're on battery power right now. That'll give this some juice. All right, there we go. If I was successful with the jumpers on my RAM card, these will be able to talk nicely together, and I'll have 4 megs of RAM, fast RAM on the Amiga side, and 1 meg of chip. This will have its own 4 megs. Everything will be cool. Let's hit it. This has an RGB to HDMI, so it takes the Raspberry Pi system just a few seconds to boot. Now, if this was an error, a expansion board diagnostic would come up and say that one of the cards is disabled. This is the Janus software I'm talking about. You might hear a beep because this board is live. When I put that Janus in there, it's like, hello. You can see I have 4 megs of RAM, 1 meg of fast. Read me first. Install. Let me install this software. Finally loaded. Intermediate user. Does your system have separate boot and system partitions? When I have work with nothing on it, but I don't have separate boot and system partitions, so I'll say no. It detects the 386 board, and we'll install it. Alright, now we want to make this AB hard drive. That's important. That's a hard drive file. Run flipper at boot. PC window at boot? No. Would you like to do the LPT1 or LPT1X? Nope. Enforcer, CPU, or set CPU. Now, if I recall correctly, Enforcer was something you needed to run for like a 68020, I believe. Now, the benefit of a Bridgeboard is those other ISA slots in there. There you go. It bridges all of those together. United States, where Jesus lives. Update my existing Janus software. I don't have existing Janus software, so go ahead. It's copying all the stuff that I said not to do anyway. And then what we'll do is we're going to attempt to create a hard drive file. Now, this is a compact flash card. It doesn't correspond to standard hard drive knowledge, so it's most likely going to fail. That's okay. Doesn't mean it's the end of the world. You can create a hard drive file in a virtual environment and simply copy it over and reference it in the preferenced utility. It's nothing to shake a stick at on a 7 MHz Amiga, considering the emulated card is 25 and has more memory. Well, now has the same amount of memory as the Amiga. And the weird part is the Bridgeboard, like a single board computer, is actually running right now. You heard that beep? There we go. So here's the part where it's probably going to fail. Now, that's only failing because I have a compact flash solution in this machine. This install procedure will set up part of your hard drive as a PC hard drive. Auto boot virtual drive. Proceed. It's going to ask me to probably create a size and fail. Warning. This file is present. Okay, see, you can edit this file. If you deleted the file but you didn't delete the control file, it's safe. Otherwise, do not continue. I don't know what you're talking about. Select a the default is work. Okay, there's work. I think that's too large, but I'll say okay. Proceed. Yeah, okay, here's where it fails, because I have -1598. See, when this card came out, we didn't have multi-gigabyte drives, especially 3 gigs, 4 gigs. People were running in the hundreds. Let's see if I can do this at 32 megabytes. Remember, this is MS-DOS 4, and it will not work. Yep, I don't care about that part. And see, it's forever stuck. So I'm going to do the right thing and reboot. Now, Janus is installed, and it will be fine. That was the final part of creating a hard drive. I'm not going to create a hard drive. I could do that through the text editing, carving it out, or using the utilities that come with the software. But we're going to check out the preferences, and I'm going to tell it to use this external disk as drive A on the, I was getting ready to say Windows machine, on the 386 side. So I'm going to go ahead and put MS-DOS 401 in the, did you see that? In the drive already. You're going to hear a beep in a second because the computer is actually starting. Yeah. So what we do is, Janus should be running, because it's always running. Alright, we're going to go into A2000. I should have a folder called PC. Okay, here it is. Get this over here. And I'll just do a snapshot so it stays there. And we get these nice utilities. Yeah. PC color, PC mono, PC reset, prefs. I'm going to go into prefs. Oh look, it already detected it. Drive A is external. Janus handler load segment, I'm leaving it default. That's a memory space address. The handler will load D00 in PC memory. Don't load Amiga side or PC side, which is default. Handler is shadowed, that's fine, that's all on the PC side. Monochrome is enabled, color graphics enabled. Default Bridgeboard mode, monochrome, I don't care, PC speaker on. Drive B could be internal, shared, internal or shared. Okay, shared Amiga drive, DF0, DF1, that's fine, it doesn't matter. Shared Amiga drive type is standard or dual speed. So we're going to say standard and save. You must reboot the PC side for changes to take effect. So you just hit PC reset and then you can launch PC mono in this case for now. There we go. 386 Bridgeboard, counting up the RAM. I'm going to skip the RAM count, I think. How do I skip it? Invalid configuration. Alright. It has a little BIOS to itself. Control-Alt-Escape to run setup. Control-Alt-Escape. Cool. Look at that. Diskette 1. 720K. And press end. Alright. Took that hard drive out because I didn't make it with the software. But this is not to be a super long video. I'm just showing you that Bridgeboards are cool. And they're neat. This invalid configuration is totally fine. We're going to hit F1 and you're going to see this drive light up. In a second, I don't know if you can see that, there's the red glow of that floppy drive. We should have an MS-DOS setup loading actually, because I didn't boot off the operating system disk, I booted off of install. So I'll get prompted to install MS-DOS, but since I didn't set up the hard drive file, I will not. I will just press F3 and exit to a DOS prompt where I could run DOS stuff. And, you know, since the Amiga is an Amiga, I can move this out of the way, and there's my Amiga stuff still. I can resize this. Get the window to say whatever I want. That's great. We're going to cancel that and press F3 and get dropped to a DOS prompt. Hey, drive A. Durr. There's the PC stuff. Command Com. Here's my Amiga 2000 stuff, which is 150,000 times better. Great. You can run all sorts of Amiga stuff. Run the clock. It's a multitasking OS. I'm not touching PC RAM. It's not touching mine. And PC stuff. I can remap printer ports and send the time or the mouse over to the PC side. There's PC utilities that you can run to send stuff to the Amiga side. Now this is just a basic introduction to the Bridgeboard. There is so much more this can do. right now I have not set anything up, but I am running a PC in a window on my machine. It's loading commands off of the OS. Now, this is the install disk, so it's not going to be the most commands. Yeah. Alright, so I just selected the wrong boot drive. And I'm going to put in the operating system disk now. I'm going to directory that. This should have more commands that are MS-DOSy. There you go. It's not a lot. Huh. Wow, big tree there. Final disk from Commodore, MS-DOS 401. Now, this is a Microsoft copyright on here. Copyright 1989, Commodore. Copyright 1981 through 89, Microsoft. MS-DOS 4, license from Commodore. Final disk is the shell. Looks like the same type of disk. Really? Too old? My screen is a little bit too large here. Yeah. The compilation of all three discs would make up your MS-DOS 401, of course. Now, these are double-sided, double-density discs. These are PC discs, so this runs as a PC drive, even though it's a physical Amiga drive. If I place these discs, like, for example, this MS-DOS shell in the Amiga DF0, and I just close this, remember, it's still running, the Amiga drive will not read this disk. See? Unreadable on the Amiga side. Well, you can get it to read with the PC0 data DOS type DOS driver. So we're not worried about that right now. But I'm going to go back into A2000. You're like, oh no, you quit that thing. It was right in the middle of your window. Nah, just run PC Mono again. It'll open right back up. And it's like the PS5 save state. Except it's always running. Which is weird. So it's always running. Unless you run PC Reset. And then launch it. It's thinking about it. There it goes. Then it'll reset the PC. It's always running. You'll hear it beep again in a minute. Try booting off the shell disk and not install. I have several other PC utilities for the Bridgeboard. But you saw how simple it was to set up. The trick of this card is to make sure that you are sharing the 8 meg address space on the Amiga and the PC. This has 4 megs, that has 4 megs. They do some science, and there you go. If I jumper this back to 8 megs, I'll blip to a section, I'll show you what it looks like. I have to then say continue, and then it'll boot. The card does show as working in the show config. Yeah, okay, the shell disk is the actual one. Wow, it's 2003. I'll take it. MS-DOS 4, that's more of the software setup I am used to seeing. What can we do? Whatever we want. I can format some PC drives on my old gateway over there, get some software and see what's going on. Maybe put some Norton utilities on it and run some benchmarks. But I'm not going to. You can. It's just the beauty of it. Now, I could get in more to shared drives or shared utilities with a hard drive file, but I just want to give you guys this tickle of history on the Amiga Bridgeboard. Several of us Amiga enthusiasts that do these videos have done various videos in the past. Check out Doug at 10 Mark. He did a really good comprehensive review, even had the old 5 1/4 inch drive, which I do own. Just can't find my floppy cable for it. It's probably on one of the 8088 models, which is way slower. So this is the pimp daddy of the emulation cards, the Amiga 386 SX Bridgeboard from Commodore, circa 1991. Right around the time the 3000 was starting to hit the streets. So thanks for coming along on this quick journey through Amiga history. There's going to be several more of these videos popping up on various cards for the Amiga, how they work, and what they do. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and as always, I hope you learned something.